Hello fellow woodworkers, welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop 10-minute tool review, and this week we're going to be looking at the Trend CRT Mark III router table. Roll the intro. So fellow woodworkers, if you've been following the channel for a while, you will have seen me work my way through at least a couple, possibly three different router table solutions, all homemade. And recently I've been thinking, why don't I just buy a router table? I only use palm routers in the router table that I've currently got, and I have got a plunge router that I never seem to use, so I thought, why not just go out and invest in one, buy one? And then I came across this one from Trend, which I actually looked at the Maker Central show this year. I'll put a link to the description to my review of Maker Central. I looked at it at Maker Central and I actually thought it was a lot better quality and a better build quality than I first thought. So I went online, I've been doing some research for a couple of weeks, and then this week we had Amazon Prime Day. I don't know if you're watching this in another country, I don't know if you had it in the States or in other places in Europe, but we had it this week, and the cost of this table normally is about £249, and in the Prime Day it was dropped down to £199, which I took as a sign to buy it. So I went ahead and I made the jump and decided to go for this one because there's quite a lot of videos and different tutorials on the web about how you can get this to work with other routers, and my plunge router is a Bush. I think it's the 1400 AE, I think, off the top of my head. So I wanted to buy it. It came down to the right price, and here it is. So as with all of my 10-minute tool reviews, the first thing I'm going to do is unbox it, then we'll see how easy it is to construct, and hopefully we'll be able to install the router and at least do a test piece. So let's do that now. Now, just before I open it, I will tell you what's included in the box. It comes with a number of sort of standard set of accessories, really. It's got two feather boards, which it interestingly recalls top pressure, side pressure on the description. So it's got those. It's got different sized inset rings for obviously using different routers, different router bits. There's a couple of those. There's a 67.5mm and a 31.8mm. It's got a mitre fence. It's obviously got the spanner that you need to undo it. It's got what it's calling a lead-in pin, and I think that's related to the power socket that it comes with, because it has its own integrated on-off button, which you might be able to see there on the front. So it obviously comes with that. It's got a push stick. It's got some bench fixing brackets to enable you to, because this is a portable unit and you can move it, if you are going to fix it somewhere specific, then you're able to do that quite easily with the brackets that are included in it. It's got some little brackets that clip to the bottom of the legs, and then you can screw them down in the bench so it doesn't go anywhere. It's obviously got the guard that's on the front and the release switch, and that's about it. Now, I did say I paid £199 for this, which for a laminated piece of board as a table does seem quite a lot, but I have already had the router. If I wanted to go with this with a Trend router in it, it would be a lot more. And when I did read a lot of the reviews about this, it got really good reviews around the build quality, and at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to see what's inside. Okay. There is, of course, the obligatory set of instructions. Now, this set of instructions from Trend, when I've read reviews of it, they've basically said that the instructions are a load of rubbish. Pretty much every review that I have read. It's in 5 different languages, I think. Yeah, 5 different languages, and it's got very, very simple sort of step-by-step instructions on how to put it together. There are a couple of videos on the internet that's on YouTube that specifically tell you, show you how to put this together, but to be honest, there aren't really many of them. I was quite surprised when I looked to see exactly how to do it. There's a couple by Trend themselves, but there aren't many. So hopefully, if I can get all this to work and I can put it together without any problem, then we're going to have another video. So we've got the instruction booklet, obviously the extended warranty. You've heard me say it before with Evolution. It's well worth filling in those extended warranties because at some point you may need to come back to that. Everything is in 3 cardboard boxes. So let's have a look at what's in this one first. That is some very strong sellotape on there. Okay, so in here, in that box, you can see we have literally got the entire power unit. Now, how this works for this model, and again, you do have to be careful when buying router tables, and one of the things I found in my research is there are some manufacturers that when they sell them, they're designed for the European market, they're not designed for the 240 volt that we have in the UK. This one does. It's got the start-stop button and obviously the plug to plug the power unit in, and then on the end, hopefully you can see that it's got the standard UK 3-pin plug. So you plug your router, that whichever router it is that you've got in there. It does say on Trend's website, when you review it, it does say there are other routers that it works with quite happily, but it also says that you may have to drill your own holes on the aperture ring. So we'll wait and see when we get to that. So power unit pretty much takes up that entire box. It feels quite a substantial unit. That it's quite heavy. So hopefully a standard to come of the good quality. Then in the long box, I'm presuming it's the legs, because this is the heaviest box in the whole of the bigger box. And again, some reviews say that these legs are quite fiddly to put together, but we'll have a look. So the push stick and then the leg assemblies are quite substantial. I think they're made of brushed aluminium, the legs. And there's the side joints, there's the angle part where the actual table sits. I think that's actually the fence, to be fair. And there's the other side parts, and these 2 blocks of wood, which I think actually sit in. These are actually the lock-in fence, if I remember rightly from the videos I looked at. So that's what's in that box. Next one. Okay, so in here we've got all of the accessories, basically. So the dust hood is in there, the handles and everything are in there for the fences, and the mitre gauge is in there, the legs, so all the bits and bobs. There's the feather boards and the last part of the fence. So pretty much everything you would expect. And in a minute I will lay all this out so you can see what comes in the kit. Just put that there for now. And then the last bit is the actual top of the table. Now, from the reviews I've read, I think this is basically just laminated MDF. And that's what I've been told it is. It's about 22mm thick, I would say, but it's got a significant amount of weight to it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's an indicator of what's come. So I'm going to lay all the bits out so you can see the full kit. When you see it all laid out like this, you do realise the amount of bits that go into it. And obviously I had a pack of spares left because they include bolts and stuff for a Trend router, which obviously I didn't end up using. Okay, so hopefully you can see all those bits. It's a bit difficult, black legs and black plastic on a black table. I appreciate that, but all the bits are here. So what I'm going to do now is start putting it together, but obviously I'm not going to do that in real time because knowing me, this is going to take about 11 hours. So I'll do a nice little time lapse for you, and when the next time I'm able to talk to you, fingers crossed, it will be with this completed. So I'm going to do that now. Just to know, if you do want to buy one of these and make it yourself, it's really handy to have a socket set because the spanner they give you isn't up to much cop, to be honest. It's not great. This was actually a lot more fiddly than it looks, and I mention it later on in the video. It's just the placement of the bolts. I think if it was me making it, I would have slightly offset them because it was very difficult to get a tool in there to try and sort of tighten the screws up. But when I come on in a minute to the mistake I made, which I'll reveal in a minute, had I done it that way, it might well have been a bit easier, but it is a little bit fiddly getting the spanner in to do those bolts up. So hopefully you can see that's the first stage done. Out off the ground, obviously it's very wobbly. On the ground it feels a lot more stable already. So obviously the next stage is to put the top on, which I'm going to do now, but I'm impressed with the build quality, I have to say, for sort of essentially quite thin aluminium, which is what it is actually quite nice. It feels quite strong. The only difficult bit was just here, the connection points. You probably won't see that very well. Just the connection points here with the two sets of screws. They're obviously exactly lined up with each other, and it may have been better just slightly offset them, because when I was tightening one up, it was hard to get my spanner in there without bashing into the other one, and if I'd have used this spanner that came with it, I wouldn't have had a clue how to do that. So next stage is to put the top on. Let's do that now. So this is where I made my biggest mistake. I completely constructed the legs, and then when I went to put the other legs in, you can see they are miles away from the drilled holes. I don't know why it doesn't tell you in the instructions, but basically what you need to do is loosely attach the legs on the side of the back, and then you can angle the legs correctly to fix them in the screw hole. So as you can see there, I'm just sort of unloosening, or I'm loosening things, just slightly changing it, and then that allowed me to do it. I should have thought a bit more about that, but it should have mentioned that in the instructions, or just said do it loosely, but they're all pictures and no words really. Okay, so as you can see, the top is attached to the legs. I did make a little bit of a mistake, which hopefully I will have just covered in the commentary, when I locked up all the nuts on the legs, when really I should have attached them to here first. In the instructions it doesn't show that. I am going to say, first point, if you are consider buying one of these, the instructions are not great. Trend sort it out. What you really should have done is attached it here, because when I tightened up the legs, they were nowhere near the fixing holes. I had to loosen or back off all of the nuts and bolts to get it to fit, and then tighten them all up. But it's I mean, you can see the wobble is actually the bench, is my workbench. The actual unit is absolutely rock solid, but it is also making me think there's a future build coming up here for putting this into a unit, either attached to the end of this or some other way of getting it in, because I can already see I'd like to have this integrated into something else. So stage one done, let's move on to stage two. This whole next section is just me doing the accessories. This is the sort of cable winder. It's the cable management for the router that you're going to use. Then I attach the switch, which was really relatively straightforward. You just got to be careful here because there's two sets of screws on the board, so you have to sort of check it out. Then it was a case of attaching the outside part of the fence, which I then had to take off to slide on the dust hood, which is ridiculously massive. These bits I don't actually know what they're for. I'll just leave it at that. Next is just attaching the screws, the handles, which allow you to actually slide it on, take it all off. And then this thing is a really clever part of the fence. That plastic bit, the clear plastic bit, you can raise up and down depending on the wood. So you've sort of got a double element to your feather board. And obviously the feather board that side, you can see, has got a lot of movement in it, which is good. And the last thing I did was just to attach the tape measure to the top. Okay, fellow woodworkers, so the table is built. Start to finish, it's probably taken me about an hour and a half, but I was doing it very carefully, checking and double checking everything. The instructions were, I would say, at best okay. A couple of the pictures where it wasn't immediately obvious what to do, I actually had to take a photo of the instructions on my phone and then enlarge it because it wasn't clear. Now I've got my Bosch router, my Bosch POF 1200 AE router, and obviously it doesn't fit the plate, but rather than go through some long and complicated sort of drilling process, I've just done a bit of a Heath Robinson. I've taken the plate off of the router and I've just cut a piece of MDF, 12mm MDF, which is the right size, and then I've just temporarily fixed it to that plate. Now I do know there are companies online, I think you can possibly even go to Thingiverse and get a 3D one if you want. There are companies that make plates that transfer from one to one, and obviously the biggest problem with doing that is this is fully closed, the router, it's fully on its push down, and I've got less than 12mm of router sticking up, but for the purposes of this it will do. So I'm just going to feed the router in. There is one other thing that I think I will need to do potentially, and that is to cable tie the safety button on here so that it's on a constant run, and then it will allow me to use the power on and off. But let's just hope and see if this fits, which it does, he says. It should fit. Yes, it does. Okay, now the other thing about this table that I like is it's got some little grub screws, and you can micro adjust the height of the bed, and I can already see I've got about a 2mm gap all the way around the edge. Not too bad in this top right hand corner. So let me just attach this the plate back to it, and then I'll give you a close-up of me leveling it off. Okay, so I've got it all plugged off, I've cable tied the handles. I haven't tried it yet. Hopefully it's going to work. The dust extraction, I'll talk about that in a minute. Hopefully it'll be good enough just to do a couple of test pieces of wood. So fingers crossed this works. Brilliant. And as you can see, it cuts really well. Again, just a temporary dust extraction scenario here. I need to do something better with dust extraction on it, but it cut really nicely, and that's all the wood like it was hot knife through butter. So fellow woodworkers, that's the end of this, what will probably be a 20-minute tool review. And what are my final thoughts on the Trend CRT Mark III? Well, I have to say, I absolutely love it. It was really straightforward to put together. It took me a while, but that's because I was taking my time. I think a more experienced person could have probably knocked this together in 15-20 minutes. The build quality is really good. I'm super happy with it. I like the features it's got, like being able to level out the plate that the router's attached to, and I think this is the solution that I've been looking for. I do think potentially it would be better built into some sort of cabinet, but I've got plenty of time to think about that. A couple of things I'm not overly keen on. The dust extraction at the back, the hose size for it is just ridiculous. It's absolutely massive. I haven't got anything that fits it. Even my big shop vac won't fit on there. None of the attachments will. So that's a little bit of an issue. And obviously the router not fitting the plate. But like I said at the beginning, I did know that beforehand, and there are lots of places on the internet that you can buy those. You can actually 3D print them yourself, and I have just bought a 3D printer. But overall, really super pleased with it. I hope this video has been useful, and if you're considering buying one of these, I would recommend it. And particularly the deal I got. I looked at it one day, £249, looked at it next day, 199. I saved myself £50, which is a lot of money, but I cannot recommend it enough. As long as you've got a router that fits in it, because obviously if you buy a Trend router with it, it does significantly increase the cost. But I think this is the solution now for me for all of my router table needs. So thank you so much for watching this week's video. If you are new to the channel, please can I ask you to subscribe, like and comment, all those fantastic things that the YouTube algorithm likes. If you're a regular viewer, thank you so much. Again, please like and comment, and I'll see you on next week's edition of the Garage Workshop. Take care, fellow woodworkers.